Hello, my name is Miss Jones. I teach elementary school math, and welcome to my channel, Miss Math Jones. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This video is the first video of 6 dedicated to help third graders prepare for the 2024 Staar math test. Let's go ahead and get started. The topic for this video is representation and comparison of whole numbers. Now, all of the questions in this video came from the released STAR tests that have been previously provided and given by the Texas Education Agency. The questions come from the years of 2018, 2019, 2021, 22, and 23 of previous STAR tests. So I did not make up any of these questions, but these tests have been previously given on STAR tests before. I also want to let you know that a printable document version of all of the questions in this review is available on my blog at mathwithmissjones.blogspot.com. It's completely free. You just click the PDF link and you can print it out and work out the problems along with me. Or just use it for practice. Let's do a quick skill check. To be successful with questions that focus on our topic for today, representation and comparison of whole numbers, you should have prior knowledge or some type of practice with the definition of the word sum. Sum means the total of all numbers, usually in a addition problem. So that means that if you have 5 plus 5 equals 10, well, 10 would be the sum. Also, you need some type of practice with place value. The ones place, the tens place, the hundreds place, thousands place, 10,000s place, even the 100,000s place. You should know what place value is. Also, the different forms of numbers. The first form would be standard form. That means just writing the number with the digits. For example, the number 20,214 that's shown here is written in standard form. Word form. All that means is it's just the number written in words. Same number, 20,214. It's written in words in the example. Next is expanded form. That is when the number is written as an equation using the value of each number. For example, the number 20,214, if it's written in expanded form, it's 20,000 plus 200 plus 10 plus 4. The final form is expanded notation. That's when the number is written as an equation showing the digit of each number multiplied by its place value. Again, using the number 20,214, the first number is in the 10,000s place, so we write it as 2 times 10,000. There's no number in the thousands place, so we don't have to represent it in our equation. The number in the hundreds place is a 2, so we write that as 2 times 100. The number that's in the tens place is a 1, so we write that as 1 times 10. And the number that's in the ones place is a 4, so we write that as 4 times 1. Next, you need to know how to compare numbers, greater than and less than. So I wrote an example. 100 is greater than 10. And then I wrote it in words and numbers. 100 is greater than 10. Another example, 10 is less than 100. And I wrote that in letters and numbers as well, showing that the number 10 is less than 100. You need to be able to order numbers as well. Ordering numbers from least to greatest or smallest to largest. For example, if I count up 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 10 is the smallest, 50 is the largest. And you need to be able to order numbers from greatest to least or largest to smallest. Same set of numbers, but this time I listed 50, the largest number first, and 10, the smallest number last. And I need you to remember that these questions have been released to the public by TEA, Texas Education Agency, to allow students an opportunity to practice solving questions that appeared on previous STAR tests. I did not create these questions. Now let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully you went to my blog and printed out the PDF so that you could have the paper version of this in front of you while we're going through it. Let's look at number 1. Which answer choice describes the number 9,140? Answer choice A says the sum of 9,014 ones. Answer choice B says the sum of 9,140 tens. Answer choice C says the sum of 9,104 tens. And answer choice D says the sum of 9,104 ones. Now let's talk about the word sum. Sum is the total amount from an addition problem. So for all of these answer choices, you're putting these numbers together to create the number 9,140. Go ahead and pause and solve on your own, then check your work by watching my solution. Okay, let's look at solving this particular question. So anytime you have a number and it's describing different place values, the best thing to do on your scratch paper is go ahead and create a place value chart. And I would fill in each answer into my place value chart to determine if that answer is actually correct. So I have my ones place, my tens place, my hundreds place, and my thousands place. Let's look at A. A says the sum, and sum is the total of an addition problem. So the sum of 9 thousands and 14 ones. So that would be 9,014. Well, that's not right. Let's look at B. The sum of 9 thousands, 100, and 40 tens. Well, 40 tens would be 400. So that would actually be 9,500. So that's not it either. Let's look at C. C says the sum of 9 thousands, 100, and 4 tens. Well, that's it, 9,140. So the answer for this particular question would be C. Now, does my answer match yours? If so, great. If not, that's okay. We're preparing and practicing. Now let's move on to the next question. Number 2 says an expression is shown. 5 plus 700 plus 40. What number is equivalent to this expression? So they're asking you, what number is equal to this addition problem? Go ahead and pause and solve on your own, then check your work by watching my solution. Let's talk about number 2. It gives you 3 numbers, 5 plus 700 plus 40. So let's go ahead and write those numbers down and line them up so that each place value is directly under the other. So I'm going to write the largest number first, which is 700. Then I'm going to write 40 and then 5. Now with all of our numbers lined up, I'll go ahead and add 0 plus 0 plus 5. Well, that's 5. 0 plus 4 is 4. And 7 plus essentially 0 is 7. So the number that's equivalent to this expression is 745. Now look at your answer. Did you get the same thing that I did? If so, great. Now let's move on to number 3. Number 3 says an expression is shown. What number is equivalent to this expression? 70 plus 2 plus 900. Go ahead and pause and solve on your own, then check your work by watching my solution. Now let's talk about this question. It says an expression or math problem is shown. What number is equivalent, which means equal, to this expression? So just like we did for number 3, we'll write the largest number first, which is 900. Then 70, then 2. Now pay attention how I keep my numbers lined up according to their place value. This is my ones place, my tens place, and my hundreds place. I'm going to add up all the numbers in my ones place first. 0 plus 0 plus 2 is 2. 0 plus 7 is 7. And 9 plus, there's nothing there, is 9. So the number that's equivalent to 70 plus 2 plus 900 is 972. Is that the answer that you received when you completed your work? If so, great. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 says the expanded form of a number is shown. 90,000 plus 200 plus 40 plus 1. What is the standard form of this number? Is it F, 9,241? Is it G, 92,041? Is it H, 90,241? Or is it J, 90,421? Go ahead and pause and solve on your own, then check your work by watching my solution. Now let's talk about how we solve this if you're not the greatest at taking a number from its expanded form, which is the form in which each digit is added together based on its actual value, and turning it into standard form, which is basically the digits that are already in their place value location. So the best way to do this is by using a place value chart. So you should have a ones place, a tens place, a hundreds place, a thousands place, and a 10,000s place. Now what you can do is place each digit in the correct place based on its correct place value. Now let's start with the smallest number. The number 1 is one digit, and that one digit of number 1 goes in the ones place. So let's put a number 1 in the ones place. Now the number 40, that number belongs in the tens place. The digit that's in the tens place is a 4. So we're going to go ahead and write a 4 in the tens place. The next number is 200. Well, that number would definitely belong in the hundreds place. And the digit that's in the hundreds place is 2. So we're going to write a 2 in the hundreds place. Well, there is no thousand number, like a 1,000 number that would have a digit in the thousands place. So we're just going to write a 0 here. 90,000 would belong in the 10,000s place. And there's a 9 in the 10,000s place. So we're going to write a 9 under the 10,000s place. And we have our answer, 90,241, which matches H. Is that the answer that you were able to achieve? If so, that's great. Now let's move on to number 5. Number 5 says, which answer choice does not describe the number 7,140? A, the sum of 7,000s and 14 tens. B, the sum of 7,140 tens. C, the sum of 7,104 tens. Or D, the sum of 7,141s. Go ahead and pause and solve on your own. Then check your work by watching my solution. Now, questions like these are my favorite, only because it asks you which answer choice does not describe the number 7,140. So for once, we're looking for the wrong answer. That means that all of these are describing the number 7,140 except one. All of these answers describe the number 7,140 except one. One of these is wrong. That's the one that does not describe the number, and that's the answer that we're looking for. So we have 3 true answers and 1 false. So when making notations on your screen during the test, or even on your paper, if you're saying A is true, B is true, and so on and so forth, always with these questions that have the word not in them, you want to mark your answer choices as true or false. That way you can determine which one that you really want to use as your answer. And I'll show you what I mean. The sum of 7,000s and 14 tens. Now, let's go ahead and create a place value chart so that we can plug those answers in. And then that way we can use that to help us get rid of all the correct answers and keep that wrong answer that we want so badly. Okay, answer choice A says the sum of 7,000s, so 7,000s, and 14 tens. Well, I know that 14 tens is written like this because you cannot put a whole 14 in the tens place. You'd have to regroup and unbundle it and move the 1 over to the hundreds place. So we'd end up with 7,140 for A. Well, that answer is true, which means we don't want A. Let's move on to B. B says the sum of 7,000s, 100, and 40 tens. Well, that's the same thing as saying 7,500. Well, if that's 7,500, then that means it does not describe the number 7,140, which means that's the answer I want. That's the false answer. That is the correct answer choice. Did you receive the same answer that I just showed you? If so, great. Now let's move on to number 6. Number 6 says the expanded notation of a number is shown. In the first parentheses, it's 9 times 10,000 plus 4 times 100 plus 1 times 10. What is the standard form of this number? Pause your video and solve on your own, then check your work by watching my solution. Now, I like expanded notation because it tells you what place value the digits belong in. So let's go ahead and create our place value chart with a ones place, a tens place, a hundreds place, and a thousands place. Okay, so I don't have anything times 1. There's no digit multiplied by 1, which means there's a 0 in the ones place. Since 1 is multiplied by 10, then there should be a 1 in the tens place. The digit 4 is multiplied by 100, which means I should have a 4 in the hundreds place. There is no digit being multiplied by 1,000, which means I'm going to have a 0 in the thousands place and I need a 10,000s place. The digit 9 is being multiplied by 10,000, which means I should have a 9 in the 10,000s place. So the answer that I received is 90,410. Did you get that same answer? If so, great. At number 7. 3 students made models to represent numbers. The models are shown. Anne's model, Karina's model, and Zane's model. Which models represent the same number? So you're looking to determine which 2 models represent the exact same number. Answer choice A says Anne's model and Karina's model because 100, 110, and 10 ones is equivalent, which means equal, to 100 and 2 ones. Answer choice B says Karina's model and Zane's model because 100 and 2 ones is equivalent or the same to 12 tens. Answer choice C says Anne's model and Zane's model because 100, 110, and 10 ones is equivalent or equal to 12 tens. Answer choice D says none of the models. Go ahead and pause and solve on your own, then check your work by watching my solution. Okay, well first we have to determine what the actual models are equal to. So let's look at Anne's model first. Now, you should have already learned that this is equal to 100. And this pictorial model is equal to 10. And these are 1 units, or units of 1. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of those. So that means that model 1 that belongs to Anne is equivalent or equal to 120. So Anne's model is equal to 120. Now let's look at Karina's model. Again, this is 100. And she has 2 units of 1. So that means that Karina's model is equivalent to 102. And now let's look at Zane's model. Now, Zane, his model is completely made up of 10 longs. That's what these things are called, 10 longs. And we can count by tens to determine how much Zane's model is worth. So the first 10 would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120. So that means that Anne and Zane's model are equivalent, are equal. So we need to find the answer choice that says that Anne and Zane's model are equivalent. Well, it's not A, because A says Anne and Karina. It's not B, because B says Karina and Zane. Let's look at C, Anne's model and Zane's model. Well, that's true, because 100, 110, and 10 ones is equivalent or equal to 12 tens. And that's true. So our answer is C. Did you come to the same conclusion that I did? If so, you are a rock star. Now let's move on to number 8. Number 8 says, which of these models represent the same number? Model X, Model Y, Model Z. Answer choice F says Model X and Model Y because 21s is equivalent or equal to 20 tens. Answer choice G says Model X and Model Z because 21s is equivalent to 200s. Answer choice H says Model Y and Model Z because 20 tens is equivalent to 200s. J says none of these. Pause and solve on your own, then check your work by watching my solution. Well, first, we need to determine what is the actual total for these models. Well, let's look at Model 8. Model 8 is completely filled with units of 1. So let's count those units of 1 to determine the total for Model X. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Model X is equivalent or equal to 20. Let's look at Model Y. Model Y is completely made up of 10 longs. So we can count by tens to determine the total for Model Y. Let's count by tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. So, Model Y is equivalent to 200. And now let's look at Model Z. Well, these are 100 flats, and I have 2 of those. So that means that Model Z is equivalent to 200. 100, 200. Well, by going in and actually checking to see what each model is equivalent to, we figured out that model Y and model Z both equal 200. So that means we're looking for the answer choice that says model Y and model Z. Well, it can't be F because it says model X and model Y, and we're looking for Y and Z. It can't be G because G says X and Z. H says model Y and model Z. Of course it is, because 2010s is equivalent or equal to 200s. That is our answer. Is that the answer that you came up with? If so, you are really smart. Okay, let's move on to number 9. Number 9 says, which list contains only numbers that belong between 5,090 and 6,300 on a number line? So you're trying to figure out which one of these lists contain numbers that would only be found between 5,090 and 6,300 on a number line if you were counting. So you can't pick any numbers that would be before 5,090, and you cannot pick any numbers that would be after 6,300. Go ahead and pause and solve on your own. Then check your work by watching my solution. Now let's take a real look at number 9. It says, which list contains only numbers that belong between 5,090 and 6,300 on a number line? So that means if I had 5,090 on one end and 6,300 on the other end, then I could only choose the list of numbers that would be in this area. Let's take a look at the list at answer choice A. 53,450 is the first number in that list. Well, that's not going to work because 53,450 is greater than 6,300, and that number would be way after 6,300 on a number line. Let's go on and look at answer choice B. Well, the first number in that list is 5,009, and that number would be before 5,090. So that list is not going to work either. Every number in the list would have to be between 5,090 and 6,300. Now let's look at list C. The first number is 5,450. Well, that works. That number would definitely be between 5,090 and 6,300. The second number is 6,215. I'm getting excited because that number would be between 5,090 and 6,300. Let's look at the third number in the list. 6,381. That's not going to work. That number is going to be after 6,300. Answer choice C is not it, but that means that it has to be D. It's the only answer left. So it's D. Now, is that the same answer that you chose? If so, you are really smart. I mean, like really smart. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at number 10. Number 10 says, a table with the areas of 4 states is shown. So you see state areas, and then you see the state names. So we have Connecticut, Vermont, Hawaii, and New Hampshire. Connecticut is 4,845 square miles in area. Vermont is 9,624 square miles in area. Hawaii is 6,423 square miles in area. New Hampshire is 9,350 square miles in area. Now, the question asks, which lists represent the areas of the states ordered from least to greatest? Now, remember, least to greatest means smallest number to largest number. Go ahead and pause and solve on your own. Then check your work by watching my solution. Now let's work on our solution. It says a table with the areas of 4 states is shown. So we have the 4 states here, and we have the areas. Now it says which list represents the areas of the states ordered from least to greatest. That's the important part. So we have to list the numbers from least, which is the smallest number, to greatest, which is the largest number. We have 4 numbers here. So I'm going to write the numbers out next to the states and their areas in order from least to greatest. So the smallest number is going to be number 1. The largest number is going to be number 4. That'll help us keep our numbers in order. All right, so to figure out the smallest number, we look at the thousands place. All right, so if we take a look at the thousands place, the smallest number in the thousands place is a 4. So automatically we know that that's our smallest or least number. So I'm going to put a number 1 next to it. Now that we have the smallest number, the last 3 numbers that are left, we're going to look for the next smallest number, which is a 6. And I'll put a 2 next to that one. All right, now this is where it may get kind of tricky because Vermont and New Hampshire both have a 9 in the thousands place. But that's okay. We can go ahead and move on to the hundreds place to see which number has the smallest number in the hundreds place. Well, that's New Hampshire. New Hampshire has a 3 in the hundreds place, while Vermont has a 6 in the hundreds place, which means that the 3 in the hundreds place of New Hampshire is smaller. So that's where I'm going to put my number 3 because that's the 3rd smallest number. All right, so that means that Vermont is my greatest or biggest number of the 4 numbers in this table. Now I have my numbers ordered from least or smallest to greatest, which is largest. Now I'm going to check my answer choices to see which answer choice matches the way that I have my numbers listed. So the first state that should be listed is Connecticut. Well, I'm in luck because I see that I have 2 answer choices with Connecticut listed as the first state. And I have 2 answer choices that don't have Connecticut listed as the first state. So I can get rid of the 2 incorrect answer choices, which would be A and D. Now I'm only focusing on B and C. All right, well, the second state that should be listed is Hawaii. Well, B and C both have Hawaii listed as the second state, so I can't use that. Well, what about the third state? The third state that should be listed is New Hampshire. Well, I'm in luck. Only B has New Hampshire listed as the third state, which means that my correct answer is B. Now, take a moment and look at your solution. Did your answer to this question match mine? If so, you are doing a great job. If not, that's okay. Gave you a way to figure it out. Now let's move on to number 11. Number 11 says, which comparison is true? Now it's very important to notice the word true. true means correct. So that means that one of these answer choices is correct and the other three are incorrect. So right now, I want you to pause the video and solve on your own. Then check your work by watching my solution. All right, now let's walk through the solution together. Which comparison is true? I like the questions that ask what's true or what's false or what's right or what's wrong, because that means that when I make my little notes on my screen or on my paper, then I can write it out to the side and use it to help me figure out the correct answer. So let's look at answer choice A. It says 68 is greater than 649. Well, anytime I see greater than, less than, I always imagine like little Pac-Mans. And I draw them a little Pac-Man circle. It's an ugly Pac-Man circle, but it's a Pac-Man circle. Okay, so is Pac-Man going to want to eat the little 68 or the big 649? The little 68. So it's not true, right? Like, he doesn't want that little number. It's so small. He's not going to get full off of that. So that's false. 68 is not greater than 649. That's false. I want the true answer, so it's not A. Let's look at B. 571 is greater than 582. Well, that's not true. That's also false. 571 is not bigger than or greater than 582. Let's look at C. 730 is less than 806. Well, that's definitely true. That's true. So I'm going to write a T next to that one for true. And let's look at D. 709 is less than 692. Well, that's not true. That's definitely false. 692 is smaller than 709. So when I look at my little notations next to my answer choices, I only have one true. The question is asking me for the true comparison. So I know that my answer is definitely C. Now look at your solution. Did you get the same answer that I did? If so, great. Now let's move on to question 12. Question 12 says, 4 students with number cards want to line up from left to right in order from least to greatest. Well, first of all, let's just make sure you know your left from your right. This is the left. This is the right. And they want to line up from least to greatest, smallest to largest. And it's asking you which statement is true. A says Olivia should be between Aaron and Rico. B says Aaron should be on the right end after Olivia. C says Penelope should be on the right end after Olivia. D says all of the students are in the correct order. Now, go ahead and try to order the students from least to greatest, smallest to largest on your own. Pause the video and solve on your own. Then check your work by watching my solution. All right, let's get to work. So, again, left to right. It's already listed for you, left to right. And we are listing them in order from least to greatest or smallest to largest. So, let's see. Aaron's number is 9,975. And out of the other numbers that are here, Aaron is definitely holding the smallest number. So that's right. She's in the correct place. Aaron's in the correct place already. Now let's look at the other numbers that are listed here. Rico is holding 90,096. Well, compared to the other two people's numbers, Penelope and Olivia, his number is smaller than theirs. So Rico's in the right place. Now we have two people left. We have Penelope and Olivia. Penelope's number is 98,300 and Olivia's number is 98,087. Now, if we look at the first two numbers, right, they're the exact same. So we're going to have to use the hundreds place to figure out who has the smallest number. Now, Olivia has a 0 in the hundreds place of her number. And Penelope has a 3. Olivia's number is smaller than Penelope's number, so Olivia should actually be the third person in line, which means Penelope should be the last person. So Aaron should be number 1, Rico should be number 2, Olivia should be 3, Penelope should be 4. All right, now let's look at our answer choices. Olivia should be between Aaron and Rico. Well, that's not true. Aaron and Rico are in the right places. Nobody should be in between them, so that's not true. I'll put an X next to A. B says Aaron should be on the right end after Olivia. That's not true either. Aaron is in the correct spot, so we should not be changing anything about Aaron. Let's look at C. Penelope should be on the right end after Olivia. That actually is true. Penelope should be all the way on the right. She should be the last person, not Olivia, because Penelope has the largest number. So answer choice C is correct, but let's look at D just to make sure. D says all the students are in the correct order. Well, we know that's false because we had to switch Penelope and Olivia. So our answer should be C. Now, is that the answer that you got when you worked it out for yourself? If so, great. But if not, that's okay. You can practice this skill. Let's move on to number 13. Thirteen says, which comparison is not true? Not true. So if something is not true, then that means that it is false. So you're looking for the false answer. You want the wrong answer. Okay, so that means you have 3 answers that are true and 1 answer that's false. Pause the video and solve on your own. Then you can check your work by watching my solution. Okay, so it says which comparison is not true? We're looking for the false answer. We want the wrong answer because not true means that it's false. So let's look at answer choice F. Answer choice F says 17,090 is greater than 2,984. Well, that is definitely true. I always make my little Pac-Mans. He wants to eat the big number. Let's look at G. 34,162 is less than 3,986. Well, that's false. 34,162 is definitely greater than 3,986. That's false. Let's look at H. 16,538 is greater than 15,981. Well, that's true. And J says 2,438 is less than 3,438. Well, that's also true. So when we look at our notes that we made next to our answer choices, we see that we have 1 false and 3 trues. And the false answer is the one that we're looking for because we're looking for the answer that's not true. So, did you get G as your answer also? If so, that's awesome. If not, that's okay. That's a skill that you might need to practice. Now let's move on to number 14 says, Which list shows the numbers in order from greatest to least? So we want biggest to smallest this time. So you want to go from big to small. Greatest to least means big to small. Okay? Big to small. Go ahead and pause the video and solve on your own. Then you're going to check your work by watching my solution. Now, it says which list shows the numbers in order from greatest to least value. So I want to go from big to small. Big to small. All right, let's look at answer choice A. I have three numbers there. Is the biggest number first? 38,945. Well, that's definitely the biggest number in this group. 9,052 and 9,181. Well, 9,052 is actually smaller than 9,181. So it's not answer choice A. That's not the answer we're looking for. Let's look at B. Well, as soon as we look at B, there's something wrong. The largest number is not first. The largest number in the list is actually 34,987. So it can't be B. Let's look at C. Now remember, we're looking for the list that shows the numbers in order from greatest, biggest to least, smallest. Well, 58,702 is definitely the greatest number in that group. $50,716 is definitely a little smaller than 58,702, so that's good. And 581 is definitely the least value in that list. So it's looking like answer choice C is going to be our correct answer. But let's look at D just to be sure. 6,092 is the first number in the list for D. And if I look at the other two numbers, the second number, 60,019, is definitely bigger than 6,092. So they're not in the correct order. So our correct answer is actually answer choice C. Did you get that same answer? If so, awesome. If not, that's okay. You might need to practice this skill. Now let's move on to number 15. 15 says, the table shows the weights of 4 elephants. So on this side, you have the elephant names, which is elephant R, elephant S, elephant T, and elephant U. And on this side, you have their weight in pounds. Elephant R weighs 12,345 pounds. Elephant S weighs 13,960 pounds. Elephant T weighs 12,509 pounds. And elephant U weighs 11,960 pounds. Now the question asks, which comparison of these weights is true? Answer choice A says the weight of elephant R is less than the weight of elephant T. Answer choice B says the weight of elephant U is greater than the weight of elephant T. Answer choice C says the weight of elephant S is equal to the weight of elephant U. And answer choice D says the weight of elephant S is less than the weight of elephant T. Go ahead and pause the video and solve the question on your own. Then you can check your work by watching my solution. Now let's go ahead and work on a solution. Again, it says the table shows the weights of 4 elephants. Which comparison of these weights is true? A says the weight of elephant R is less than the weight of elephant T. it's really useful to go ahead and just write it out with the numbers and the comparison symbol. So I wrote 12,345 is less than 12,509. And that's true. And again, we're looking for the true answer. So unless we have more than one answer, which we shouldn't, then A is our answer choice. But let's keep going just to make sure. B says the weight of elephant U is greater than the weight of elephant T. So if we write that out, then that means 11,960 is greater than 12,509. Well, that's false. So that cannot be our answer. Let's look at answer choice C. The weight of elephant S is equal to the weight of elephant U. And when we write that out, it's 13,960 is equal to 11,960. Well, that's definitely false. Now let's look at D. The weight of elephant S is less than the weight of elephant T. And when we write that out, that's 13,960 is less than 12,509. Well, that's definitely false. So answer choice A is our correct answer choice. If that's the answer that you received when you were working everything out, you are an absolute brainiac. Now, there were only 15 questions in this review, and we've come to the end. You have actually completed the topic of representation and comparison of whole numbers for your third grade STAR preparation and practice. Congratulations! I hope this video has helped you to work through the problems and practice for your STAR test. I'll see you next time, and don't forget to like and subscribe.